You are listening to episode 26 of the Psoriasis Geek podcast. I'm your host, Gemma Berg, and today we're talking with co-host Russ about tips and strategies for those of you who are newly diagnosed. Even if you have had your diagnosis for quite some time, there may still be a few areas that you're frustrated with. So it's worth having a listen to see if we can address some of those for you. If we can't, then please let me know and I will make sure we cover it in a future episode. I am here to serve you, so please let me know if there's anything that you need. I will try my best to get that sorted for you. You can email me at gemma@thepsoriasisgeek.com. Now, we do talk about quite a few different tips in today's conversation, and I've summarized those for you over on the site. I'm trying to build a newly diagnosed section so you can find all of the resources that you need there. The easiest way to get to that is probably to navigate from the homepage. So if you go to the psoriasisgeek.com, at the top there's a button that says Get Started. If you click on there, it will take you straight to a section where you can self-identify as newly diagnosed and find this interview and the bullet pointed notes there. So without further ado, let's chat to Russ. Now, I can't remember my diagnosis because I was 5, but I have had a long, hard think about the advice I would give somebody who came to ask me now. And I know it's quite a long time for you as well, Russ, isn't it?
It certainly is. It's 35 years ago now, when I was diagnosed with psoriatic arthritis. And in one of my poems that we did in a previous podcast, the line got a line in it that says, psoriatic arthritis, what the hell is that? And that's exactly how what I thought at that moment in time, the absolute dread of being diagnosed with something I had never heard of. But I think as obviously we've got older and I've learned about what psoriatic arthritis actually is, I don't think there's anything to actually be scared of now, because there is a lot of resource out there that I don't think existed when I was diagnosed. Simple reason, the internet didn't exist when I was diagnosed, and there was no real support network, and you were pretty much on your own. Well, now I look on places like the Psoriasis Association Facebook page, onto their website, even my own. I'm involved with the psoriasisshoutout.co.uk website. There's articles, there's things on there that people can look at and actually learn a little bit about what they've been diagnosed with. They can learn about treatment pathways, which is one thing that I think a lot of people generally do not have an idea about, that you have to go down pathways to get to biologics. Obviously, through financial reasons, you have to start with the cheapest and you work through the drugs till you get to the ones that are really, really good. And there's definitely far more out there now than there ever was. And I'd say to anybody who's newly diagnosed, don't be frightened. There's people like me and you to speak to, for instance. There's other people on Instagram and on Twitter who've got great reach in the community, get your skin out hashtag and things like that. There's always somebody there to talk to now. Whereas 35 years ago, there was nobody. I was pretty much on my own, trying to learn about something that I had absolutely no idea what it was. I'd never heard of it. And it's like, right, what's going to happen? My leg's going to fall off. I'm going to grow an extra head. And I just didn't know. It was very, very bizarre. So, things are a lot better nowadays. A lot better.
Yeah, I second that. I was having a look this morning to see what the official guidelines were, and I was unsurprised to find a line that said, well-informed patients have better treatment outcomes. And I think that's down to what you were saying, especially in the UK with the NHS. I know it's quite similar in the States with their step therapy. There are very set routes that you take. And if you understand that, then you know how to fight your case. So I know, for example, for you, because you're a drinker, well, not an alcoholic, but you enjoy a drink, you weren't eligible for methotrexate, weren't you? So you bypassed that part of the process. So let's outline that. So someone who's been newly diagnosed, what's the first line of treatment usually?
Well, in my instance, the first line of treatment was going to see a specialist sent there by my GP, who then referred me to the ward at Salford Royal, and I started on, back in those days, onto tar treatment. Obviously, start off really, really low tar, worked my way up to 100% tar in the hospital for 8 weeks, 9 weeks, and that pretty much cleared me. Alongside that, it was the usual regimen of painkillers to cope with the arthritis side. And it was a case of, that was about it. You just sort of got on with it. I was released from hospital, and then 2 weeks later, I was back as bad as ever. I was in for another 6 weeks and I had tar again. And then that cleared me up a bit quicker. And then I also did the light treatment, progressive nitre light treatment. Did all the various forms of that. And after light treatment, it was then onto the tablets, because I'd done the tar, I'd done the creams, I'd done the light. So then you sort of qualify for the tablets. And then I started off with, I think it was Fumadern, which did absolutely nothing for me. Acitretin did nothing. Then cyclosporin, I went on to that, which I despise cyclosporin because I just don't like the smell of it. But it actually worked okay for quite a while. I was going for about 18 months or so. But it got to the point at the end of it where I hated it. Just the smell of the tablets and that. But when I come off it, I had a really bad bounce back effect from that. Methotrexate, because at the time I was a drinker, they give me one tablet, sent my liver count up through the roof, and it was like, no, you're not suitable for that. And I was around about the time when the biologics started to come out, so I was lucky in that respect that I'd done all the treatment pathways right through, from the tar to the creams to the light treatment to the tablets, and run through them all that were available at the time. That I was one of the earlier qualifiers for the biologics and infliximab when that first came out. So I've spent some time on that, and nowadays there's more and more biologics coming out. I think I'm on my 7th now, and so I've been on them for the best part of probably 12, 13 years. I've been on biologics probably a little bit longer, maybe even 15 years. And the good thing is, for anyone who is newly diagnosed, is don't worry, there's so much new stuff that's coming out now to treat you. You would be amazed. It's not like it was when I was diagnosed, when it was a case of, well, you're pretty much going to have to live with this. We can help you manage it as best we can, but the chances of you sort of ever leading a semi-normal life were probably virtually nil. Whereas now I have clear skin, my joints are okay for me. They're not great, but they're okay. I can get about. I have clear patches of skin. My legs are still bad, but my legs have always been bad. But it's the advice-wise is, and there's so much more out there now, and there's so much people who you can contact and talk to, because people have generally got to an understanding of it now. Whereas I think 20 years ago we were often looked upon as unclean, and I remember a girl being in hospital when I was there, when we were in the smoking shelter, being called a leper. But I think through the successful campaigns that we've had, through Psoriasis Shout Out and other campaigns that have gone on, I think people are generally realising now that psoriasis is not, you can't catch it, it's not a dirty disease, it's not associated with leprosy or anything like that. You know what I mean? It's just a matter of, it's a skin complaint. It's usually caused by your immune system not being very good or being wacky or whatever it is. And I think anyone who is newly diagnosed, my first thing would be to say to them is, don't be frightened. Have a look on the internet, Find some people out there who know what they're talking about. Listen to me and you for a couple of days, some of the stuff that we bring out, and get a picture of what's going on. And then if you've got any questions, write them down. Always write them down. For the next time you go and see a specialist, you've got any questions, you'll remember them. And you can go and ask him. And in my experience, the medical professionals in the psoriasis game are all very, very good. I've yet to come across one that isn't. So that's a little bit from me. I've been talking now for the last 10 minutes. So, Gemma, what do you think?
I was just sat here laughing about the fact you mentioned the podcast, because I spoke to a GP a couple of weeks ago, and he said, by the very nature of the fact that you're listening to this podcast, you are an educated patient. And I really loved that.
Yeah.
So I agree with what you said. Essentially, when you're diagnosed, acknowledge your feelings, and it's totally okay to feel whatever emotions you feel. I think in our society we're taught to repress things, but if you're angry or scared or fearful, whatever you feel is a completely valid emotion, and there will be thousands, if not millions of people around the world who felt the same thing as you. So don't feel alone. There's communities for psoriasis everywhere now. So I was the same as you, Russ, growing up. There was nobody else. I had no friends with psoriasis. We had to just take what the dermatologist said. My mum knew that she didn't agree with him, but she had no other way of validating her thoughts. So now it's amazing. Holly Dillon with the hashtag Get Your Skin Out. There's plenty of people. We spoke a couple of weeks ago to a girl, Georgia, Meadows on My Skin. Her account is really good. So there's loads of places you can go. And I also really like what you said about the Psoriasis Association and the National Psoriasis Foundation. So they're the first places I would go to get information on psoriasis. I think so easy when we're told something that surprises or upsets us. We don't ask the right questions because we're so shocked at what we've been told. Our brain kind of goes into free fall. And then you think of all these questions afterwards, and you need information when you're starting out that is correct. Yeah. So you can make better decisions in the future. So both of those places, all the articles are checked by qualified professionals before they're published. So you know that what you read is true. And then you can go out and take advice on various things from people in forums, because psoriasis is so much more than a skin disease. It's so much more than in your joints. It is in your whole body. And a lot of people do want to take a more holistic approach to trying to treat that. But some of the advice you'll get in forums is dangerous and wrong, or works for that person but won't work for you, or might interfere with medications you're taking. So if you've gone to the Psoriasis Association and the National Psoriasis Foundation and have a really sound understanding of your condition first, then you can make much more informed decisions that suit you than panic taking somebody else's advice.
Yeah, I totally agree. So I've read some stuff that I have read, and that's one of the downsides of social media and what have you, is some of the advice I have read has basically been laughable, and there is obviously you have to be aware of scammers who will be out there trying to sell you stuff because people will get desperate, and if they are offered a way out and they can think they can pay £20 for some stuff that will give them an easy way out of their problems, they're likely to do it. And I really despise people preying on the vulnerable. And as a society, we are vulnerable. We can be that desperate. We will do anything, and there will be people out there who will take advantage of us. So we have to be aware of them. So your advice about going to the Psoriasis Association and National Psoriasis Foundation is spot on. Go to them, listen to them, because they will give you the proper advice. You can always go to the other places and ask for little tips and what have you. And generally, I would say the tips are pretty good. But beware the scammers, and especially people trying to sell you stuff, because I think some of it is an absolute joke. That's my own personal experience, and I'm sure there's some people out there who sell stuff in really, really good faith. And there is some people out there who found some stuff and they really believe in it and it's worked for them. But general, what I will not do is give people money for stuff that I know nothing about and I do not know has been tested or been approved by NICE or by my doctor. If it was good, my doctor would be giving it me. That is what my rule of thumb is.
Absolutely. If somebody had discovered the cure, a pharmaceutical company would have bought the rights to that already.
Yeah, spot on. And I think that's something that people have to be very, very conscious of.
So my friend bought some diet pills from the internet on advice of someone she talked to in a forum, and she passed out in her kitchen. And she showed me the tablets she'd taken, and they literally were in a sandwich bag and they'd been posted from China. So wow. That's the kind of thing that might happen to you. You don't know what is in any of these things that you're buying. I don't know. Did you see the thing to do with, I don't know how to pronounce this either, but Yangajing cream? It was all over the forums last year. So I think because so many people were talking about it, the government tested it and it was supposed to be a herbal cream and they found a steroid and 2 antifungal agents in it. And this came in like a tube in a box. It looked like something you would buy in a pharmacy, but it wasn't what it claimed to be.
It's incredible, isn't it? You know, what people will, but we will be that desperate. Some people will buy that, and that frightens me because you could be getting anything, you know, and doing yourself more harm than good.
Look, so, I'm sitting here telling you this. I've got so many supersized boxes of supplements I bought in the middle of a flare, and I haven't brought myself to throwing them out because they cost me like 20, 30 quid each. So when they arrived, I thought, I don't know what this is. I don't know what it's going to do to me. And I just didn't take them. Because you do, when you're desperate and you're itching at 2 o'clock in the morning, you'll buy pretty much anything that says it's going to take it away.
Of course you will, yeah. And I'll tell you, I wish I had £1 for every person who stopped me in the street and said, oh, psoriasis, I've got a friend who's got that and they use. If I'd had £1 for every time I'd heard that, I would be a very, very, very rich man. But I tend to be polite and go, yes, that's very nice. Oh, really? Oh, isn't that wonderful? I'm really glad that they're doing okay. But thank you, I'll stick with what I know because my prof knows what he's talking about. He wouldn't be where he is today unless he knew what he was talking about. And I've got every trust in him. I think that'd be my big thing about though. Be wary of scammers.
So going back to being an educated patient then, so the standard route that you would take is first line is normally topicals. So topical steroids, mild steroids for the face and stronger steroids for the body. You've got your vitamin D based creams. Next phase is UV therapy. So it could be narrowband UVB, which is my personal preference, or PUVA, which I know we've both done before. And then, as you were saying, it's the systemic. So usually that is cyclosporin and methotrexate. Normally methotrexate first because it is cheaper. And also they've got a longer history. And that sounds a little bit blah, but what it means is doctors are able to predict the side effects a lot easier because they've got so much data because the drug has been used for such a long period of time. And then it's biologics. But you have to have failed at everything else before that, before you're eligible for biologics. And your condition needs to be impacting your daily life, doesn't it? It's not just based on your skin, it's based on how psoriasis impacts your life.
Yeah, that's very, very true. Yeah, it's not just based on a PASI score. It's based on a DLQI, which is a quality of life index. So your psoriasis might affect you in ways that you don't even consider. A simple questionnaire that I filled in at the hospital gives you a DLQI score, and that can be a decision based on whether you qualify for certain biologics is based more on that than your actual psoriasis coverage. So the questions are simple questions like can you wash yourself? Can you cook a meal? Can you go shopping? And it's basically how psoriasis affects every little element of your life. Does it create problems at home? Is it messy? Does it create problems with your clothes? And all these things all add up, and you create a score. And if that score is relevant, you will qualify for biologics. Psychologically, it's important that as well. That has a psychological impact. I haven't got one at hand, so I know that there's a few things that I'm missing. But eventually, if you get that far, I'm sure you'll come across one like it or something similar and have it explained to you. But you do start off with the basics. You start off with the creams. And as Gemma said, you will then move on to the least expensive for tablets. And then obviously, as if they fail, you will go on to the more expensive ones. But don't be scared. There is always something new coming out on the market. I mean, as a patient, I've lived on the edge for the best part of 20 years, always waiting for the last biologic to come out. But nowadays, I think there's 3 or 4 now that I haven't tried that I've got a choice of. And there's also a thing that on the horizon called stratified medicine, which Professor Griffiths at Salford Road has been part of, where maybe in 5 or so years' time, they'll be able to predict exactly what tablet will work for you. It's brilliant innovation, and I think that will help so many people with psoriasis because there's so much hit and miss with the medicines. They will be able to target you from your blood and go, oh, your genome, DNA, be able to look and go, that's good for you. And that'll save not only the NHS money, it will save yourself money, and you save yourself time, and hopefully lead to better treatment outcomes.
Absolutely. And essentially, I think what we're saying is don't be afraid. There's so much that can be done. And you may talk to people who have had bad experiences. I've had bad experiences. I didn't go back to my dermatologist after, I think I must have been 21. I didn't go back until I was about 24, 25. And medicine had moved on so much in that time. I completely changed my perspective when I went back after that time log for multiple reasons. 1, there were so many more medications available to me. And 2, I'd finally stopped being stubborn and sat down and learnt what my options were. So when they tried to force me to go for another round of UV treatment, I just point blank refused to go. I was like, it lasted for me 5 weeks. It is not worth taking 3 mornings a week off work for 5 weeks clearance. Like, it's just not worth going. I ain't going. And that's when I got into the next tier of medication. And it's only because I informed myself and then had the balls to stand up for myself, I actually got what I wanted. And then I realised, actually, this is the way forwards. It's knowing what works for you and having enough information to fight from your own corner.
Yeah, totally agree. And me and you are both maybe expert patients, and we know that. But a lot of people who are newly diagnosed won't know that. So hopefully our little podcast today can help maybe point them in the right direction. And if they have any fears, they will be able to contact us, and we can help them out if we can, or they can listen to all the other podcasts, gain information from that. And the one thing is, don't be scared, because there's stuff out there now that is amazing. And the years of where people often think of a TV program called The Singing Detective, and things all going wrong, and it's not like that anymore. Nowadays, even if you go in hospital, there's rarely anybody in for longer than a week nowadays. If you're in for 2, it's a real surprise. Whereas 20, 25 years ago, you were in for 2 months at least. So even from that aspect, it's changed. And even if you do have to go in hospital, hospital's fun. I have a great time on my ward. It's brilliant fun. And you meet some great people. The nursing staff are absolutely superb, and some of the most knowledgeable people you'd ever want to meet when it comes to any skin disease. They can show you some tips and tricks that would help you for life. They certainly helped me. So don't be frightened. You'll be okay.
Perfect. So that's a really nice way to tie things up at the end. So if you've just been diagnosed, it's okay to feel how you feel. And there's a huge community out there who are waiting to help you transition into this new part of your life. You need to form a good relationship with your GP, because they will coordinate all of your care. if you have a GP that you aren't really connected with or you struggle to get an appointment with, go back to episode 4 where I interviewed GP Dan Maggs. He will tell you everything you need to know about how to get the most from your GP, how to get past receptionists, and how to move if you don't like the person you've got. So scroll back to episode 4 in the podcast list for that. Get informed. The Psoriasis Association have fantastic information, but they also have several services. You can phone them, email them. They've even got a WhatsApp service now that you can use to access information. And the National Psoriasis Foundation, which is based in the US, they can help anyone from around the world. They have something called patient navigators. And if you message them, they will set up an appointment and you can chat to them on the phone and they will help give you guidance. If you're US based, they will also help you navigate any challenges you've got with accessing medications, finding dermatologists, and navigating insurance. So if you're US based, it's definitely worth contacting them too. There are lots of options outside of medications if you want to go a more natural, holistic route, but just make sure you've got the foundations in place first so you can make more informed decisions. Remember, educated patients have the highest success rates according to the Psoriasis Association. And the last thing, and is maybe one of the most important, find somebody to talk to.
Agreed.
Whether it's your mum, dad, brother, sister, cat, next door neighbour, some person you've never met on the internet, there will be times when you need to just offload and you need to have somebody who you know you can do that with, who isn't going to turn around and do what Russ mentioned earlier and recommend their favourite moisturiser.
Correct. Well said, Gemma.
So hopefully that wasn't too much information. I feel like I've just rammed even more information at you and you're probably feeling information overload. But I want you to know there's lots to do. Find someone to talk to. Take it from there. Make a cup of tea. Sit down. Look at the Psoriasis Association website and you will be all good.
Ta-da!
So that's us for this week. We'll see you next time. Thank you for listening and goodbye.